Welcome, everybody. Scott Stevens here with a look at some weather around the country and a few spots around the world. Most of it, though, today stateside because simply there is so much happening. Some of it human interest and other of it is just truly weather. We'll start with one of my favorite subjects, astronomy. And if you've been outside recently, then you know that we're at or near full moon. And it's that time of year where the moon is crawling higher, like basically mirroring where the sun was in March. So it's climbing higher in the sky on what's termed the ecliptic, or the path of the sun around the sky. So it'll be rising in the evening later. Well, yeah, later, but not by the hour, which is typical every day, but more like 30 minutes or so. But we'll see that what is termed the corn moon. This person called it the head of the meadow moonrise. So he's in the meadow as it rose last night and this morning. So really, that's going to be bright and in the sky through the night. The other two brighter stars off to the west, Jupiter's the brighter, Saturn is the dimmer, and then farther to the east, with the moon last night kind of splitting the two, will be brilliant and orange Mars, and it will rise sometime after the moon, more like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and Mars, again, brighter than it typically is or will be again for about another 15 years. You know what happens when guys, they, like to just kind of go outside and play. When you get the rain, and it hasn't rained in a while, hey, Robin, sometimes you just got to go. Boys will be boys in their football outfit. I'm sorry, my dad and my coach would not have been real thrilled with that, but nonetheless, what are you going to do? They're just going to go play as the rains hit. Yeah, we've got options for COVID. Apparently, Professor, combination of lamivudine, doxycycline, and zinc, almost is 100 effective. So that's cool. That coming out of Sky News Australia. So solutions appear to be on the horizon. This was a cool radar image, and I'd like to be able to blow this up for you, but I don't know if I can. I can do it that way. But look at that. Those are all birds beginning to migrate south. You can see a couple of them there and at sunset. But once we get to sunset, there's a nice big blossom as the migration continues south. As the days grow ever shorter and cooler, that's just what's happening. So they're headed off to Cuba and will continue their trek southbound. All right, we know we've got fires in California. We know it's been hot in California, but what appears to be developing is what is termed the Santa Ana winds. As we see this cool high pressure about 5-6 days from now setting itself off up across the Mountain West and even in the northern plains, that'll set up an offshore flow, and in doing that, that begins to heat those California coastal regions even more than what they've endured up until now. So that's kind of what's coming up. We had this character, David Blaine. I don't know if you've been watching him, but he from Page, Arizona, apparently he attached himself to a bunch of balloons, climbed up high, got to about 21,000 feet in this particular video shot with his little GoPro right there. And then at 25,000 feet, it descended or disentangled himself from the balloons and then parachuted back off to the ground. So the guy looking for a stunt, and he certainly got one. Hottest August on record, this for Salt Lake City, breaking the old record just 7 years ago of 2013, back of 82.7, 2012 right behind that in 2017. So for their warmest years within the last 10. And then a very, very hot Labor Day weekend expected for LA, the interior valleys of California. It's going to be unbearable. And it is a crazy heat. We'll get to the heat out west. That's going to be rough for the next 6, 7, 8 days. All right, 6 new large fires reported yesterday. And the total number is 75 fires throughout the country that they've got personnel on. They have, there's the new large fires are 6. They had 10 contained, so we've seen a bit of a reduction from 79 down to 75 active fires with a little more than 4 million acres burned. Where are we on the personnel working? That was the other number I was looking for in this because it had been 24,000 people working. It doesn't look like it's specifically mentioned, and unless I'm just not seeing it. But nonetheless, it is active. And about the heat out west, today, not such a big deal. You get down to Brownsville, Texas at 98 degrees, and then Fort Myers and Miami and some of the other hot spots. But as we begin to move through tomorrow, Thursday, through Friday, that ridge is in place with Burns, Oregon at 100 degrees, Boise 99, Needles, California at 115, Fort Myers in Florida still on the warm side at 94 degrees, Lewiston, Idaho at 101, Phoenix 113. These are forecasts, and we only plot ones that are within 1 degree of the record, and then the heat reaches its apex on Saturday and then into Sunday the 6th. Labor Day weekend. Everybody's going to be out there camping, so forth and so on. So out west, be careful. Be so very careful with as tinder dry as things are. In fact, there might be just straight up fire bans as the situation really is kind of reaching a climax. And then as we get to Tuesday, wherever there's a ridge of high pressure, that means there's got to be a counterbalancing movement, and that will bring a very cool temperature. Chinook, Kansas at 62 for a high. Lincoln, Nebraska forecast at 63 for a high. Kansas City just 65 degrees on the 8th of September, coming up on Tuesday. All right, some of the other stories. Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, all Laos and Thailand, all just being devastated by these floods that are adjacent and into China. So just a lot of water-related issues over in that part of the world. Whereas here stateside, we're kind of been I don't want to say protected from that, but we're not dealing with water to the degree that they are, just around the hemisphere. All right, 112, Death Valley, California. Yesterday, 23 in Peter Sinks, Utah, the nation's cool spot. Into the Atlantic we go with a couple of disturbances emerging from the African continent. Two of them, both of them right now, kind of low probabilities for development. Nana is close to making landfall at Belize. That'll happen tonight. And then Omar getting a name. So here we are all the way to the letter O. And it is a minimal tropical storm with winds at about 40 miles an hour, already entrained into the westerlies, and will continue to roll very, very quickly off to the north and east. It's curious that we've gone through so many letters, but as far as convective potential energy or tropical energy, bled off by these storms, it has not been all that impressive. And the numbers are huge, but as far as impacts, they just haven't been all that great. Glenda's ready for fall. I bet you are. Louisiana summers just kind of go on and go on and go on a little bit more. There's the cool front right through here with thunderstorms all lit up behind it. In fact, another round of storms rolling through the end of the Red River Valley as you move into the lower part of the Texas Panhandle, and they've been so dry. So it's good to see those rains commencing. Maybe it's enough to kind of green up the pastures before we see the seasons really turn, and then cool weather through Canada. And here is Omar way out here, just that little circulation center with an exposed center. So, really posing no threat. I'm going to throw this in here because at 96 frames, and as we begin, let me bring this down just a touch so I can scroll and look at this. Look at all those trails over Idaho this morning. It's come all the way back. And right at sunrise, we begin to see the greatest contrast. But look at all those contrails, or chemtrails, depending on your point of view with it. But those contrails are definitely there. Oh, come on. And just played all day long at the top of the ridge. They love to play on the tops of ridges. It's like how can you best push something downhill? If you just get it at the right place, the right time, then you let the momentum take over. But the tops of the ridges look to be really big. And then the fires, Washington State, a couple going on in Oregon. Then the fires continue off in Northern California. There's Nana as it approaches Belize. Otherwise, Mexico's kind of clear. Still getting the good summertime monsoons. That is welcome because they will turn dry once the season changes. Still hot upper central and northern plains. It's certainly on the warm side there. And cool as we move into Canada with widespread temperatures, 10, 15 degrees cooler than normal, literally widespread from the foothill of the Rockies across the entire country, just in the 30s with some very gusty winds. Snow may come, but probably not for a couple of days yet. Here's these thunderstorms over the dusty high plains of Texas and even into western Oklahoma. Here's your drought situation. So we're seeing the rains out here, and those are very welcome. I had huge soaking rains south of Dallas, Abilene, on to San Angelo, and then deeper into Texas last night. So those were very, very welcome rains. Even if there was 2, 3, 4 inches worth of rain that fell, there was a lot of water that came out of the skies with that last night. So what we're finding here is that this deep, cool, basically it's a Hudson Bay trough right now, and then the strong ridge, As I roll this out over the next couple of days, we can see the ridge spreading out, and there it begins to reach about its peak intensity. And this is Labor Day, Sunday night into Monday and into Tuesday. And it just deflects the jet stream way to the north, and that means that some part of it has got to come south, and it'll bring some very cool weather. So really a contrast across this boundary, across the high plains. So that's going to be the situation. And then does the ridge break down? Kind of. But yet it maintains a separation between a trough off the coast of California, which we would love, and yesterday was modeled to come in and to bring some showers to the Mountain West, but it just doesn't get that opportunity today. And then the cool weather to stick around in the Gulf Coast area. But what that does is it keeps any risk of tropical storms from impacting the coastal areas of the U.S. So let's run this one through. This is essentially just temperatures as compared to normal, and it'll run out through about 16 days. So you can see the heat. The heat is in place out west, and this slug of cold air comes on through, surges all the way across the Gulf Coast and even to the Yucatan Peninsula, enduring or getting to enjoy a break from the heat. But the cool just doesn't stay. That ridge tries to come back in, and what I say here, it succeeds as it spreads the heat across. It's probably a good thing because there will be frost, and these farmers will need some warm weather to ascertain what kind of damage has happened or hasn't happened, or at a very minimum to get those Canadian crops and those crops in the northern plains, which in the wheat, in the case of Canada, has single percentage harvest. A lot of it hasn't finished maturing yet. It just hasn't been warm enough to really get there. And then we've had some dry conditions, which kind of bring forward the harvest date, kind of bring forward the maturity. But we just need some straight up warmth to get everything done in time before the cool weather comes. All right, that's it for the moment. We've got another perspective coming up here at 6 o'clock. It's going to be kind of a curious show where I want to and I will talk about what we see coming. The nation facing what will likely be or close to be a constitutional crisis, as we have two powers that are unabashedly attempting to hold on to the executive branch of government. And we'll see or anticipate or guesstimate how this thing is going to play out. Either way, great changes are upon us. And with the other COVID and things moving along in the world, it's going to be a challenging time for every single one of us. And so we'll anticipate and look at some of those potential outcomes in the next show coming up at 6 o'clock Mountain. So I'll catch you then. And Risa and Dumas, Texas. It's a killer growing season this year with some good rains and gardens. My garden, the tomatoes just this past week started to ripen. I guess it takes like 1,300 growing degree days for that to happen, and we're just crossing that threshold right now, and so the tomatoes are greening up. So in my garden right now, Casey, yeah, I can see it out there. I can see mine out there as the sun sets in the Rockies. All right, be back at 6 o'clock with another perspective, where I've titled the show Down the Road. All right, see you then. In the meanwhile, keep looking up.